Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is JT from Above and Below the Belt. I want to talk about the fight that happened, I think, Saturday. Canelo Alvarez versus Sergey Kovalev. But I seen the previews. I was busy doing something, and I apologize for this. But I remember, and I was wrong about Canelo Alvarez. I will say this about him going to the body and hurting him to the body and knocking him out. But he knocked him out with a head shot. He basically head hunted a little bit in this fight, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to talk about the whole fight because I seen the highlights of the fight. You know what I'm saying? And I remember I said I was. It depends on how the outcome of the fight and how the fight was. You know, by the highlights of the fight, it was pretty. A little bit. It was interesting, but some people say it was boring at the same time. If you look at the whole fight, but which I didn't. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of funny because Canelo Alvarez said he don't want to fight. He don't want to be in a boring fight, especially with Demetrius Andrade. But he was from what I heard by what people were saying, it was a boring fight. You know what I'm saying? And people saying this was a fake fight. I'm not gonna go that far and say that, man. I don't know, but I won't be surprised if it was. You know what I'm saying? Anything like then they're giving out franchise titles and all kind of different titles and stuff like that, and it's all about politics and money at the same time, and people jumping on weight classes to fight a person that should not be fighting. You know what I'm saying? And people do hypocritical shit, as in saying that they won't fight at this weight, but then they fight at 100. They fight at a weight class that it should not be in, right? You know what I'm saying? It's all kind of stuff in this sport. And then people getting gift decisions. I'm not just talking about Canelo Alvarez. There's a lot of other fighters got gift decisions because of politics, right? And but the thing about it with this fight, man, like I say, he got the job done. Congratulations to Canelo Alvarez for the victory. And me to say if it's fake or not, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know. I'm not gonna go that far. He got the win. He got the knockout. What people say he was going to do. Boxing Eagle said it. A couple of other people said that he's going to get the knockout. Who else said he's going to get the knockout? I think Fanon or 78 Sports, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Said the same thing. Trio Boxing. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, they knew that, the outcome was going to be in this fight that it was going to be a late stoppage at the same time. But it almost went 12. You know what I'm saying? But, it's kind of funny, like, when some people saying that, Canelo Alvarez never knocked out nobody at 160. But then he's knocking out a 175-pounder. But I want to ask y'all something. Was it more Canelo or was it more on Sergey Kovalev being drained of, the rehydration clause and not his body not healing right from the last fight with Anthony Yarde? Do you think it was all that combined and him being older too at the same time? 36, about to turn 37, I think next month if I'm not mistaken, or this month or whatever. I think it's in February or something like that. Or whatever. It's around the corner. His birthday is around. It's either this couple of months or next year, early next year, right? But he's about to be 37 years old. Do you think that played a part in it, or do you think it's just both? But at the same time, man, he picked the fight and he wanted the money, and I don't blame him. And if it was me, I probably would have took the money too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, do you think that Canelo Alvarez is going to stay at 175, which some people say he's going to stay at 175 pounds? You know what I'm saying? Or he might, you never know, because, one thing is when he fought Triple G, was at 160, I think, he said that he didn't want to, he had the belt, and Triple G was his mandatory, that he gave up the belt, because he didn't want to fight Triple G. He said, I'm not a true 160 pounder. But now look at where he at now. He's fighting at 175 pounds. Ain't that something? You know what I'm saying? And I said that I was going to put, if he beat him the right way, I mean, in a good fashion, I will put him top pound for pound number one. Well, one thing is I'm gonna do this. I don't have a pound for pound number one. I'm gonna change my mind about Terrence Crawford too. On top of that, because he haven't fought nobody. He's fighting the Mean Machine, right? So I'm gonna say this. Terrence Crawford and him is 2 and 3. Nobody's not the pound number 1 on my list at all right now. I'm gonna just change it. I'm gonna change it up, man, because at the same time, I remember what Counter Punching Boxing said. He said something about if Canelo is really the best champion, he's the face of boxing, which that could be the debate because Manny Pacquiao is still fighting at the same time. I mean, it could be debatable, but he is a cash cow. He is in that conversation, right? He is the face of boxing to a certain degree because Manny Pacquiao is fighting, but at the same time, I would say that what Counter Punching Boxing said on his channel, he said if you're the best, you should need all the stipulations and stuff like that, and putting people through the gauntlet and all that, the rehydration clause gauntlet. You know what I'm saying? If you're the best fighter, you shouldn't do that. You know what I'm saying? And he's doing that. You know what I'm saying? I think some fighters did that in the past. Don't get me wrong, and I said the same thing about them too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's just that I'm gonna say that who's number 2. I mean, that's up for grabs. Number 2, it's either Terrence Crawford, Canelo Alvarez, and Alexander Usyk is number. Let me see. No, he's number 4. I think Lomachenko's number 5, and then Earl Spence is number 6. You know what I'm saying? I'm not moving Earl Spence back because of that last fight, but he didn't do that well. But he did get the job done. It was a close fight, and he didn't give Sean Porter the rematch. One thing about Floyd Mayweather, you know what I'm saying? I know I'm getting off the subject, but he gave people the rematch when people thought he lost that fight with these fighters. When he fought the boxers that people say he allegedly lost to, right? He gave them a rematch, and not just he fought somebody else and didn't give him a rematch. He went back into a rematch. Right after the fight, that where people say he lost. Errol Spence didn't do that with Sean Porter. Canelo Alvarez didn't do that with Laura. You see what I'm saying? People's not fighting the fighters that, you know, I mean, it was a close fight, which I thought Canelo Alvarez lost that fight. Errol Spence, I think, won that fight because he got the knockdown, of course. Like Canelo Alvarez fight Austin Trout, which he got the knockdown, which I think he won that fight because of the knockdown, right? The Triple G fights was really close, and that could have went either way. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I wouldn't even argue with nobody about if he won that fight or lost that fight. I mean, it's really debatable. It was that close. You know what I'm saying? Just like Earl Spence fighting Sean Porter, but when Canelo fought Laura, that was I mean, it wasn't even close to me in a sense. It was Laura all the way to me. You know what I'm saying? So, but at the same time, ain't no pound number 1 on my list. I just, you know, these fighters not really. They're not fighting the fighters that they should be fighting because Canelo Alvarez could make his own path instead of, you know, trying to do what everybody else did before him. I know he's looking at everybody else before him, but at the same time, you could pave your own path, go your own path, as in fighting Jamal or Demetrius Andrade. You know, so and I understand that why people are saying that. He shouldn't have to fight them because they don't have nobody on this. They don't have nobody. They haven't fought nobody like that, and that's true. But at the same time, they got a belt. I mean, I can see why Canelo Alvarez didn't fight Jamal Charlo to a certain degree because they're on different networks, different promoters. You know, so I can understand that. That's going to be kind of hard to get done. I can understand it. And then the belt that Jamal Charlo had, it wasn't really that belt was. That wasn't a real belt to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like the franchise title to a certain degree, right? And that's what Canelo gave him the WC strap, right? Gave it up, right? Because he didn't want to fight Jamal Charlo. That's just my opinion. But the thing about it is, I would definitely say that Canelo, but with Canelo fighting Demetrius Andrade, that would have made more sense because he had the real belt. I think he had the IBF belt, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I think he had one of the belts. Let's say the WO. Demetrius Andrade had one of the belts, right? And he had a real belt. It was like a made up belt, like made 5 years ago. It was made up 5 years ago, or whatever, right? Or 10 years ago, whatever. Whenever when those belts was made. But the real belt been around for a long time. Demetrius Andrade had that belt, and they was on the same networks. Of course, they had different they was in two different promotional companies, but they was on the same networks, right? That fight should have been made, but Canelo Alvarez said that he didn't want to fight a boring fighter. He didn't want his fans to be disappointed at him and stuff like that, and he haven't fought nobody. You know what I'm saying? Which that's true, but that just seemed like that's just a cold word for saying that you didn't want to fight him. Because Demetrius Andrade is a very different. He give Canelo Alvarez a hell. That's man. That would have been not a good fight for him, and he even really said it to a certain degree about what I said, about what he said to the reporters, the commentators. You know what I'm saying? He's a boring fighter, and he don't want his fans to be disappointed in him, something like that. I mean, I'm not saying word he said it like that, but you know what I'm saying? He said that he hadn't fought nobody, and I know he might be a good fighter, but you know what I'm saying? But he never would get the chance to see. We never get the chance to see because Canelo Alvarez didn't fight him, and we don't know he will ever fight him, but he's not out the game yet. So that's why I said. You know what I'm saying? So I remember I told you it's not a duck yet. I wouldn't say it's a duck yet. Not yet. But I don't know. He said he's gonna stay at 175 pounds, but that's something for us to see. And it's gonna be very interesting because he's only 29 years old. And eventually he will have to fight a person with a good name. Jose Benavidez or Demetrius Andrade or Arthur, who's the other dude's name? Beterbiev, whatever his name is, the European fighter that fought last Saturday. You know what I'm saying? Not this Saturday, but last Saturday. Two Saturdays ago, right? But he's gonna have to fight one of these fighters. You know what I'm saying? So what y'all think about what I'm saying? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? What's y'all opinion about what I'm talking about? Leave a comment at the bottom of my page. Subscribe to my page. Like my page. Hit the notification bell for new videos from me. This is JT from Above and Below the Belt. All right, bye.